It is my pleasure to invite our medalist, Professor Luis Moll, to join me at the podium. Luis Moll, perhaps more than any other theorist or researcher at work today, you have shown us that learning is inextricably situated in and mediated by culture. Above all, you have demonstrated that ignoring that connection deprives us of our most powerful tool for enabling all students to succeed in school and life. Your groundbreaking studies of the rich knowledge resources within poor Latino communities have reshaped classroom practice, fostered greater racial understanding, and improved countless lives. More broadly, your landmark book, Funds of Knowledge, Theorizing Practices in Households, Communities, and Classrooms, confirms the importance of, as you put it, studying human beings dynamically, within their social circumstances and in their full complexity. Your work also demonstrates the power of interdisciplinary approaches. Drawing on anthropology, history, and psychology, you have explicated how Mexican-American barrio families cluster according to exchange relationships, how knowledge ownership develops within individual households, and how teachers can mobilize such knowledge in the classroom. You also have modeled the application of your ideas to academic leadership. As Associate Dean at the University of Arizona's College of Education, you have sparked faculty initiatives in such areas as informal science education, early childhood education, and transnational education. You were the first recipient of the Henry T. Trueba Lifetime Achievement Award, which recognized your service in academic scholarship, student mentorship, and service to the education and Latino communities. You have also received the Sylvia Scribner Award, which honors research that represents a significant advancement in the understanding of learning and instruction.
Luis Moll, we at Teachers College echo those tributes, but we speak directly for the legions of educators inspired by your work. For your brilliance and humanity, but above all, for showing us how to do our best for the children, families, and communities we serve. We proudly award you the Teachers College Medal for Distinguished Service.
Thank you, colleagues. I'm truly honored to be the recipient of this award. And I'm particularly pleased that my family was here to witness the occasion. My wife, Anna, will be celebrating 40 years of marriage in a couple of weeks or so. And my two sons, Carlos and Eric, are here as well. Thank you guys for accompanying. This ceremony is certainly a joyous occasion for you graduates, no doubt about that, but also for the friends and family members, the special people in your lives. I was fortunate to have my mother and grandmother, the women who raised me, present in all my graduations. But it was my last graduation when I was awarded the PhD at UCLA, which was particularly memorable. My grandmother, who was present, had not been doing well. Her diabetes had recently claimed her left leg, which was amputated beneath her knee. She used the prosthetic device, which I called her boot, to get around. But she managed all right with the help of a walker. So there she was, front and center at my graduation. The convocation was held in a patio just outside of Moore Hall, where the College of Education is housed at UCLA. One of the speakers, I believe it was the dean, none other than John Goodlad, the well-known educator, had asked for a certain decorum appropriate to the occasion. requesting that the guests withhold applause and celebration until all the graduates have been announced and hooded. Fat chance. I remember distinctly that when my name was called and I went up on stage, I could hear a ruckus nearby and wild cheering. I glanced over at the tables that had been arranged for the guests, half expecting to see my buddies cheering, but it was my grandmother who was raising hell. She was bouncing on her chair while cheering, her arms raised, while my mother desperately grabbed onto her arm so that she would not tip over and fall. Grandmother went wild. For a moment, I thought she was going to remove her boot in order to bang it on the table as well. That my graduation brought her, this woman I love so much, joy and happiness is the fondest memory of my convocation. So graduates, in this moment of recognition, take a moment and give special thanks to those extraordinary women and men who have guided your lives and who have loved you. Things have certainly changed drastically in education since the day of my graduation some 30-some years ago. What has not changed is that schools, public schools in particular, remain vital institutions in the life of this country. So graduates, once you finish celebrating, and celebrate hard, keep in mind that there are many important challenges your generation of educators must address. I'm just going to mention 3 of them before I conclude my remarks. Notice that I'm going to be brief. One is understanding diversity. There is a fundamentally new social context of education in this country, produced by the changing demographics of society. For example, Latinos and African American students are now represent the majority in all the major school districts in this country. Incredible. So whether you are a researcher, a practitioner, or a clinician, it is not simply a matter of understanding diversity, but of developing a diversity of understandings of the children in our schools in formulating a pedagogy that matters to a broad variety of children. This will remain a central pedagogical challenge for you. This is how Lev Vygotsky, the prominent psychologist, put it, writing about the issue of diversity in education around 1924. He wrote as follows: "Our only concern is that there exists within the very nature of the educational process, within its psychological essence, the demand that there be as intimate a contact and as close an interaction with life itself as might be wished for. Ultimately," he wrote, "only life educates. And the deeper that life, the real world, burrows into the school, the more dynamic and the more robust will be the educational process. That the school has been locked away and walled in as if by a tall fence from life itself has been its greatest failing. Education is just as meaningless outside the real world as is fire without oxygen or as is breathing in a vacuum. The teacher's educational work, therefore, must be connected with his or her creative, social, and life work." Second challenge, reinvigorating schools. As schools have become more diverse, schooling has become more narrow, more reductionist. The past several years have produced federal and state regulations that have certainly changed schools, but in my view, not for the better. These so-called accountability models, with their incessant testing of students, have succeeded only in creating stultifying conditions for learning for both teachers and students. In essence, these models have succeeded in making many smart kids seem dumb. Many schools have become test factories with narrow and diminished curricula that feature only rote forms of instruction or test preparation, and which curtail the excitement in learning and intellectual vigor and critical thinking about important issues in society. Are those stifling accountability regimes really the best that the United States can do? Nobody has it worse than the children labeled as English language learners, who rather than be considered valuable resources to be developed are generally regarded as problems to be managed and controlled, with testing as the key means in such a system of control. Your challenge as educators then will not only be to seek pedagogical solutions as you must, but to pedagogical solutions to politically produce problems, but also in your role as citizens, especially TC graduates, as advocates for children, to seek alternative political solutions to educational problems. You have the clout to do that. New technologies. This moment in history is also characterized by the development of new and varied technologies, including the advent of social networking technologies that create possibilities for a global emphasis and multiple literacies and semiotic resources in education. For example, consider the possibilities for those of you studying in the area of international and transcultural studies. However, schools tend to accommodate new technologies into all social structures, rather than using these technologies to create fundamentally new structures for learning. In other words, as my former student Lisa Schwartz puts it, with the help of the students, we can develop a 21st century pedagogy that envisions students as teachers as semiotic boundary workers, she calls them, in which the interests, issues, and semiotic resources found in student spaces are leveraged to enhance academic ways of meaning-making. To develop new technology-mediated forms of schooling that are expansive and exciting and connects with the students' changing points of knowledge is a challenge that awaits you as you embark on your careers. To be sure, however, despite the many challenges educators face, especially in difficult times, as I look at today's graduating class, from TC no less, there is certainly cause for optimism. After all, you have studied at an extraordinary institution, and it is obvious that this graduating class consists of bright, well-prepared, skilled, committed, and I must add, good-looking educators who are ready to take novel action on difficult problems and do well for our students and for the benefit of all. I wish you the very best. Congratulations. Thank you.